Special thank you to Seed and Stone Cidery and Lucky Buzz Meadery for sponsoring the show today. They help to make this show possible and supply us with the occasional beverage when we're out there. They've got 10 taps full of meads and ciders made right there in-house. They've also got all sorts of awesome events going on, including an open mic almost every single Thursday where you can come out and show your musical talent. So all you songwriters out there, stop out and grab a cider or a mead and tell them that the Songwriters Couch and the Patrick Joanne Band sent you. Again, Seed and Stone Cidery right here in Rochester, New York. Go out and visit them and let them know we sent you. Thanks, guys. All right, welcome to episode number 36, I believe, of the Songwriters Couch. That's the name of it, right? That's right. Ava's looking behind us, and we've got a guest, and obviously her name is Ava, but I'll introduce her in just a moment. Before I do that, I want to thank our sponsors, who without we would not be able to continue to do this show, so thank you very much. And to everyone that watches and listens, thank you so much. It. And just so you know, we've got our hands out for money. We have a patron, not a Patreon. It's like the bootleg Patreon. So it's called Patron. But you can donate as little as $1 a month to help us continue to do this and have better and more affluent guests on and be able to fly them in and out of the studio here. But thank you to everyone that listens. Thank you to our patrons that currently exist. We do have merch that I always forget to talk about, but go buy that too. What else? What else do I got to talk about? Anything? I think that's it.
The price of eggs.
Well, the price of eggs is a little exorbitant right now, right? Mm-hmm. Not a fan. Oh, yes, we have a guest. So today on today's show, I'd like to welcome the one, the only Miss Ava Sauer. Oh,
you got it.
I got
Nailed
it.
it.
I got it. I was worried that I was not going to get it. So thank you for being on the show. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's your first time on it, right?
Yeah, it's my first time, but I've watched like a handful of the episodes, seen a bunch of my friends on here. So.
That's awesome. Yeah, we've had a number of people in a group of friends kind of beyond back to back there. I'm getting a phone call. So what I'd like to do before we get started with getting to know you better is let's get to know you overall. Mm-hmm. So if you can tell the people at home here, if you can cut to that camera, where they can find your stuff, what you do, and all of that kind of thing.
I'm Ava. I sing. That's my primary instrument. I play keys. I write music. I have a band with my partner Tom, and we're called the Archive Ravens. We play with a bunch of our other friends, depending on the configuration. So you can find us at the Archive Ravens on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. And also, I'm just right now starting to launch my own solo musical project that I'm very excited about.
You heard it right here. Cut to this camera. You heard it right here, people. The one, the only Ava Sauer starting her very own indie project.
Yeah, this is kind of like the first public like admission of it. I don't know, it sounds like it's like a guilty.
Yeah, you're
yeah. But that is going to be under my first and middle name, which is Ava Annalie. It's a Native American name, my grandmother's name. She's
That's awesome.
A wonderful lady. Like it's Annalie, like ONALEE.
And you have separate social media stuff kind of for
do.
that. All right, so we'll definitely post everything in the description and all that. So go follow her, go listen to her music and download and all that stuff. And
also it's Ava with an A, so just the symmetrical AVA. Even though
that's important.
My mom's name is Ava with an E.
Oh wow!
Because she's from
Changed
Austria.
things up.
Well, she's from Austria, and the E makes it like an S sound there. And so
you're
like,
Austrian?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But then when they came here, they wanted people to know that it's Ava, like pronounced Ava. So they're like, we might as well do the A.
I feel like that's a very popular name
It hasn't been. When I was Ava, no one was Ava. Like, I would always go to the gift stores and look for little things. The people never an Ava. But then in the past like 6, 7, 8 years or something, it exploded like one of the most popular names. But I've found like I think like one other person named Ava with an A.
I
That
think
was, like
like
in my age range.
Eastern Europe though. I know a
Yes.
lot of
Yeah.
like Avas for some reason from
Yeah.
that region. I don't know where that comes from. If there's like a background to it. Do you know what your name means at all? Like what does
It's
Ava
one of
mean?
those that's kind of descended from like Eve, like Adam and Eve. I think it's one of those that kind of, because I think like the EVA in particular comes from it,
EVA.
and I think this is just kind of like a iteration of that.
Yeah. Well, that's
I don't know. You can.
interesting.
If I'm wrong, tell me in the comments.
Yeah, that could have been where we're heading now with the two truths and a lie.
Oh yeah.
Those could have been your facts that you just
right.
used up. So
I know.
I'm hoping you got something crazy for me that
I
I
have
can
some
try.
colorful ones.
Do you?
Yeah. I don't know if they're. I can't tell if they seem.
Like and lively.
That's
Bird-
funny because I'm a bird. Like that's always been my thing, being a bird.
But
And
what's,
also I'm very
what's the
overly
spelling
lively.
on that, Allie?
AVA.
So
AVA.
avian.
Like avian.
What did you
See,
say?
that's-
Bird-like and
Bird-like and lively.
lively.
That definitely would describe me. Like I was in an a cappella group in college at U of R. It's called
You were in
Trebellius.
an a cappella group?
Oh yeah, and at U of R, it's like big deal. Like more people go to a cappella concerts than like football. But I was kind of
they are
in like
cool.
the rough and tumble, like the ragtag team of like we got there. Like I was actually on the board when we went to the student assembly and said like we want to be an official a cappella group because before it wasn't considered. And then by my senior year, we won the quarterfinals for ICCAs.
Oh, wow.
So we had like this rags to riches sort of story. We were like, yeah, we were.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What's the name of that?
Pitch Perfect.
Is it Pitch Perfect? Yeah, I was going to say, did you ever have in a empty pool a showdown with your rival singing groups?
I would have loved that. That would have been very much up my alley. But I feel like it's funny because
So no one ever approached you in a back alley and had a
wish.
vocal off with you?
someday, maybe someday.
All right, well, let's get right into
Yeah.
the first part of this little thing we call Two Truths and a Lie.
Yeah.
And then we finally have like an actual animation and a little thing that happens, and it's going to happen right now. And we're back because that happened in post, Ava. It was like magic. So I'm hoping you have three things. What do we call them? Are they facts? No, I know what the name of the thing is, but what is the name of, what do we call them? Three statements?
3 potential facts.
Factoids.
Factoids.
Because then it's not really a fact necessarily.
Yeah.
All right, so three statements of fact.
Varying levels of truth.
Ooh, I like that. 3 statements of varying levels of truthfulness. So what's the first one, Ava? What do you got?
I dressed as Cleopatra for my high school graduation. The second one. Oh, should I give you?
Yeah, go for it.
The second one is I played a roulette wheel in a dancing role in a musical. And the third one is I collect little tiny gnomes that are porcelain or wooden, hand-painted in different different gestures. And I store them around my house in different little hiding places.
Huh. This is a tough one.
I wanted to make them colorful.
Get us on the gnome one once. Did you say something about gnomes? Somebody. Or
Yeah,
clocks.
there was a gnome. Yeah, cuckoo clocks, that's right. All right, so Cleopatra, you said high school? Mm-hmm. A roulette, I don't even know what that means, that you played a roulette. So that's got to be true. 'Cause it's an odd one, you know what I mean?
I've been off the last couple times, so.
Played a roulette wheel. Can I ask one follow-up question to that?
I'm
Is that
good
allowed?
with it. Is that up to Alec?
What does that mean exactly? Like you just spun around?
Somewhat, yeah. I don't know what that is.
Because you said you played a roulette wheel, like in a play kind of performance.
You were dressed up like a roulette wheel, or you like played a roulette wheel in?
Yeah,
That's
were you the roulette wheel, or were you playing roulette like the
That's an
game?
interesting question.
All right, maybe I shouldn't follow up because maybe that'll give away the answer. I'm assuming is what that response is. All right, well, I'll go just raw on it. All right, and the last one was gnomes, wooden, like hand carved and painted,
Hand painted, at least.
I hope that one's true.
not by you,
No,
but
I
just
wish.
interesting ones
Someday.
from around the world.
Someday. Though.
I'm going to go with the Cleopatra, and the reason I'm going to do that, before we go any further, the reason I'm going to do that is because it seems like something that would be true that you would throw in there just to throw me off, and I could see you playing Cleopatra, right? You could see her doing it, right? Yeah.
But
What do you think?
I'm gonna go the gnomes. I hope that it's true though.
Yeah.
I hope it's not.
But the reason I didn't go with that, because that's the feeling I got initially, and then I was like, no, I'm probably wrong, because I'm normally very wrong. All right, ready? So drum roll and.
The gnomes is the lie. The gnomes is the wish. The gnomes is the dream for my
Oh,
life.
it's a dream.
Yeah.
Oh my, it got very intense. So I need clarification before we go any further.
The roulette
Okay.
wheel.
Yeah, the roulette wheel. Explain to
man.
me exactly.
I was dressed as a roulette wheel in this awesome musical called Lucky Stiff.
Explain how you looked. What was the roulette?
So I was kind of like a pole. It's like a tutu sort of thing that stuck out was the wheel, and I was actually a dancer, girl, even though I'm not a dancer.
Not
at
a
all.
dancer?
But I was learning how to do splits and stuff. And when you're in musical theater, sometimes they're like. And I went to a small high school. I went to the Harley School, and we didn't have a lot of like options. So they're like, well, you're gonna do this dancing role as a roulette wheel, and I was like, okay.
So kind of like a tutu with the numbers.
Yeah.
That now I can picture
Yeah.
it. For some reason, I was imagining like laying on the floor, spinning.
Yeah,
On
yeah.
your back, like spinning, or like,
Imagine like the movie theater.
or like a big,
But she's just like a.
yeah, like a big round.
Yes, yeah, like this way. No, it was like
Yeah.
around my hips was the roulette wheel.
And then So why were you Cleopatra?
Because we had to wear white, and then I was like, my mom had this cool snake thing that it was supposed to be a bracelet, I think, but I'm like small, so I like put it around my arm, and then I was like, oh, this looks kind of Cleopatra, and then I wore this white dress that like looked very like ancient Egypt.
It was like a costume party. Is that what
No,
the thing was?
it was just you wear a white dress to graduation, and then I just went off. I don't know.
Is that a thing? That's a thing that happens.
At my school, it
dress,
was.
huh?
We wore white dresses for. And you know what else is funny? I had to bring this up too because my friend Brian Wang, we graduated together same
love
year.
you, Brian. By the way, yeah.
Harley School.
Wait,
I got
you
a
went to
picture.
school with Brian?
Yeah, we were same year
Get
at
the
Harley.
fuck outta
I
here.
have a picture of us graduating.
Pardon my
Did you
French.
know that he has a twin brother?
I did know that.
Andrew. So there's a picture of us at graduation. So we were a small class, like 44. So we went out in like couples going off the stage and like did like some funky movement. So I have a picture of me going off stage. So I'm like leaning over and both of them are kissing each of my cheeks. That was our thing at the end of
Wang
graduation.
brothers
Yeah.
Holy shit,
Small
Brian.
world.
Come on, Brian.
know.
You know, tell me these things.
I know.
Are happening. So what was Brian dancing in some way, or he was in?
No.
No,
That
it
was
was
just
ju-
for like high
just the
school graduation.
graduation.
As we
Oh,
were
I
like
gotcha.
walking off stage, is like everyone got their own little
Yeah,
moment.
little thing.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I had an interesting high school kind of graduation prom thing. So I went to it, as Ali said there, I don't know if you heard it, but I went to an all boys Catholic high school, right? So it's basically like a prison.
In this area? or?
No, in
I was gonna say,
in
like
Queens.
McQuaid?
In Queens. So, but like it was basically like a prison because there was nothing to distract the young teenage boys from just causing havoc and trouble everywhere they went. And so instead of us having a prom, which we had like sister schools that we would, get together or whatever, the kids all decided, we're going to throw our own prom outside of the school sanctioned one, right? We'll have like an open bar and all this kind of stuff and all that. And the school found out and they're like, well, if you do that, we're going to, send police there to stop it and all that stuff. But no one had signed up for the actual prom that the school was putting on. And this was like 2 days before that was supposed to happen. And so the school ended up just canceling it because no one had signed up for the original one. Everyone was going to go to this other cooler one. So we had no prom. And then graduation was there. I don't even really remember having the high school graduation.
Yeah.
So it's probably more memorable for other people. It's not
Yeah.
a sad thing for me. I don't know. I don't like regret that I didn't have a prom. It's probably
Yeah.
super awkward. But all right. So you did you grow up in Rochester here?
I did, yeah.
Whole life.
Yeah, by like Menon Ponds Park area. So
What
pretty
got
out
you
there.
into? Did you start in musical theater, or what? Did you start learning an instrument like piano or something first?
So my first, like, I guess, discipline instrument was piano. Though I was like obsessed with singing even when I was little. Like my mom says that even when I was like before I could talk, I was like singing in the back of the car like fa la 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 la. So like I just always was obsessed with singing.
That song in particular?
I always loved Christmas carols. I'm still
Yeah,
super into Christmas
I saw on your
carols.
Instagram you had a Chris. What was the song that you have on there? Some Christmas
Oh
song.
my gosh, on my Ava Sauer Instagram,
Yeah.
my personal Instagram. I think White Christmas or something
White
from
Christmas,
like
that's right.
4 years ago.
It was
or
good.
something. Yeah,
I was
because
like, oh, she's
my
good.
oh, thank you. I mean, so long. Anything that I've done that's like older than 6 months old, I'm like, I can't even start
There's
with
there's
it.
two types of people. There are people that are super into Christmas, which I'm going to assume
Oh, yeah.
you're one of those people.
Oh.
And then,
Holiday cheer
yeah,
master.
holiday cheer, yeah. And then there's me. I don't.
Yeah, most
get it.
musicians are like, I don't understand what you do. And for me,
Christmas, yeah.
growing up in like choirs my whole life, it was always like September, October through December was like Christmas time, like get in Christmas mode. And I love this stuff too. It's like a lot of kind of older. I like the older like jazzier sort of 50s
Is that
stuff.
are those
and,
the?
and then like the real old ones like Silent Night.
Is that kind of where you started like live performing stuff? Is the
Like with choirs and stuff.
Choirs and-
Yeah. Because I was in choirs from like first grade on, which I'm really grateful that they had programs like that.
Yeah.
I went to like Menon Center, and they had this program where you could come early, and so I was just in choirs my whole life up through college. But I don't miss it. I don't really like choral singing, so maybe that's like a
No?
weird thing. I think it's really important for the development of a singer. Well, I mean anyone can
Yeah.
get to singing in their own way, but I think it's really helpful for like the development of a young person.
Well, I've had conversations with people that grew up kind of doing music in church, and I always wish I kind of had that level, like the choir
Yeah.
rehearsals and things where you're singing, you're learning harmonies, and you're
Mm-hmm.
learning how to sing with other voices and all that stuff. Because I never got that formal kind
Yeah.
of boot camp of
Yeah.
church. Or even like I don't know if it was in church or whatever the choirs you're singing in, but
No, they were all like school choirs.
yeah, but that kind of formal when you're a kid learning how to do all that stuff. So you think that really helped you,
Yeah,
kinda
yeah, and
establish your voice and
especially I had a choir director at the Harley School, Mr. Burrows, who I think just the way he approached music had such a huge impact on just the way I see it and shape it. Like he would like go and like make the motions of like how it was flowing and stuff to get us all integrated into the same sort of groove, and he's such a cool guy too.
how so? What do you mean by that? So he would like write out.
Well, and he's also almost like acted out, you know what I mean, to show like the dynamics and the shaping.
I
Just like a
gotcha.
great way of explaining like in different like vowels and stuff. But I personally don't love choir. I don't like the way it feels. You have to really like mute a lot of your vowels, and also like I like
Show me what you mean by what do you mean by that? Mute your vowels. So you
Well-
need to like soften them.
you need to kind of make them more pure usually, because then you're going to blend with everyone else. But that's not
So especially
the way
like
you'd
probably like
speak them.
R's and T's.
No, like vowels. Like you're like
Wait, what are vowels? Why am I?
O, U,
Oh, yeah,
E,
A.
yeah. But also consonants, you kind of have to have a different.
I was thinking like the T's.
That all boys
Yeah.
school.
We'll cut this in
Yeah.
post.
But I guess the way you could think of it is when you're singing solo, it can be more speech-like, where it kind of has it can have a little more edge, and you can
Yeah.
put more personality, I think, maybe into each vowel. Whereas if you're with everyone, you're trying to integrate all together. It's like just more pure vowels, which I think is really good for singers starting out to just like really lean towards those pure vowels versus things that are a little diphthongy, like I, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we say a, or like eh.
Do you think is that where
eh.
that indie girl voice comes from? Is from like choir singing, like adapting that, like taking it to the extreme. If anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, it's that like you know what I'm talking about, right? Where they like they play with the vowels. There's a lot of like independent.
Yeah, where they do it to the
Fema-
extreme.
yeah.
where they go like to the opposite of the choir extreme, where it's very like I don't want to say garbled because that sounds bad.
Yeah.
Very like
marbles in your.
yes, yes,
Well, it sounds like a child is like a little baby is
Yes.
saying the vowels.
yeah.
Huh. So what is the purpose of? You said rounding, right? Kind of rounding the vowels.
Yeah, or like kind of purifying them so they're all on this like pure vowel versus it being more speech. Like again, speech you're kind of smushing things around a little bit and you get to kind of go into the grooves of the different consonants and vowels versus having it be very clean. Like speaking like a British person, like everything very like you know what I mean, like very like high. Not that was a good representation, but you know what I mean.
That was a perfect imitation
but just like very like clean and pure.
Huh. So you started out on piano. Was that like as a little kid you were taking lessons and all that?
Because my mom is a saint. I have 3 older brothers, and my mom was teaching us all piano.
Oh, so she plays.
Yeah, she actually went in Vienna. She went to kind of like a conservatory where she played piano there for like high school. It was just a very Vienna's a very music-focused city, and so they just like really emphasized that.
There's not any famous musicians that came out of Vienna, right?
Yeah, no, not at all. It's funny because as I have aged, I've realized how much my tastes are so Viennese. And like a lot of my favorites were based in Vienna or born in Vienna. And just different weird proclivities that Viennese musicians like. Like I heard their orchestra percussionist talking about how they use actually different percussion that's slightly like, it's less acute, it's more like warm and gooey, but you lose some of the sharp clarity of like other percussion where it's like got this attack.
So it's
but
almost
they
like
prefer the
reverb,
warm,
like this reverb, like it.
yeah, kind of performing like a warm like large sound.
Are you
versus
referring
a clear,
to their
sharp
classical
sound.
music or just?
Yeah, just in that case, it was like an orchestral musician talking about like how they actually even like have a special like skin that they use, like goat skin or something that makes their percussion slightly different.
That's
I
interesting.
remember it and just being like, wow, there's like a lot of my tastes are very Viennese.
What were you, I guess, raised on musically? Like, did you grow up with a lot of classical music, or was it?
Yeah, definitely not at all. Not at all what a lot of other people my age were, because my dad wasn't really into music. It's funny because he says he's not into music. He says he knows nothing about music, but he has this one Tracy Chapman CD that is by far one of the best CDs ever made, and he listens to it every week when he's doing his workouts. And so like, and I'm like, if you picked this CD that's like perfect to be your workout CD, because it's not really like a pump up CD. It's like the one with Fast Car and Mountains of Things. You know, it's not like a pump up CD, but that's the one that you pick to work out to. Like, well, I know you know music more than you say you do.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, maybe for him though, it is like a pump. You know, it's like a real banger of a song, like Tracy Chapman's Fast Car. But a lot of people dig it too.
I love
like it's a
Tracy
great
Chapman.
song. She just who did that at the was it at the Grammys, right?
Yeah, because he did a really big cover of that recently.
Yeah, which I had never actually, because that song was giant though before him. People are like crediting him with like, oh, he like made it blow up. I'm like, no, that's been around a long time.
Yeah, that song's
like,
iconic.
Yeah. So mostly classical music was.
Yeah, so my mom in the car, I say that I've had season tickets to the RPO since I was in the womb, which might be true, because my mom, she's like been on and we drive
Rochester
around listening.
Philharmonic, by the way, orchestra.
Yeah, shout out to the RPO. I'm your biggest fangirl. So yeah, she'd be playing Beethoven, she'd be playing Rachmaninoff, a lot of that sort of stuff when we're driving around. And some like Johann Strauss talking about Viennese stuff. So for me, like that's really nostalgic. It'll be really funny for me because I'll be talking to people who will hear like some sort of like Nickelodeon or something song come on and be like, oh, that's so nostalgic. Right. And for me, it's like, I don't get any of that. So it's interesting to navigate because I feel like a lot of people have this similar like touchstone of like, oh, that's like nostalgic and that's comforting for me. And it's not for me. For me, like it's weird because like, yeah, like I'll hear like a Johann Strauss song, like that'll be like more nostalgic for me.
Well, but I think that's musicians tend to, and anyone that ends up doing music in a professional way, or any artist really, I feel that they seem to have this very unique. Maybe it's even just the perspective on what they thought of as important during their like when they're growing up. Because I had, TV on and the cartoons and all that stuff. I don't remember a lot of that stuff. A lot of that stuff was not impactful to me. One of the very first memories I have of my entire life, like first memories, was me sitting on the floor in my dad's bedroom, and he had a record player on like an old milk crate, and he was playing "Hey Joe" by Jimi Hendrix, and that I just remembered that so vividly, like being a kid and watching the record spin and "Hey Joe" about killing his his girlfriend who cheated on him. That's one of my first like earliest like music memories, but. Also, like my dad used to practice in the in the basement and have his rehearsals down there, and I would go down there and he'd be playing, and there'd always be instruments around and music stuff around, and that stuff I remember more than anything else. Like I don't remember a moment in my life that wasn't just music constantly there. So would your mom? She would play it obviously in the car and stuff. But what, like in the house, was she dancing around the house to?
My mom is a ballroom dancer, but that's actually a newer thing. But she is just a dancer in the core of her being, which is really cool to see her just thriving right now. She's just keeps getting better and better as a person and also as a dancer. And it's beautiful, actually. I don't know. This is kind of a little bit of a reveal, but
we might have to have your mom on the show.
Honestly, she's so cool. She is the coolest person. She is my T-9 months homie. Like, we are tight. And yeah, so she's the coolest. But where was I going before? What were you talking about?
Like where is she listening to? And she was
dances, hums. Where were we going? But yeah, like she played in the car. I remember growing up too. Another big thing was like. It was kind of before people had their own computers, and we had a computer in the kitchen. And it was right when like Pirate Bay was a thing. And my brother downloaded
talking about
me.
Old stuff. We were talking before this started about Friendster. Yeah. And you had no idea what I was talking about, but Friendster and all those things, but like BearShare and LimeWire and all that.
Yeah. So I feel like my specific like the cluster of years around my year. I was born in '96. We had this very interesting like growing up with technology. But my brother downloaded me this like 6 CD Motown collection, which I just listened to like on loop. So I had these certain things that like I didn't know how to get them, but my brother, I'd be like, "Hey, can you get me a Pavarotti CD? Can you get me 100%
Elvis?" legal, by the way. No one can. We
bought them all. Yeah.
That's right. This is all fiction. Everything we're talking about here, so they don't come after you.
Yeah. We used Pirate Bay to investigate, and then we went and purchased them as CDs. Well, a lot of them I did purchase as CDs. That's definitely. But
so did you have a rebellious period where you said you got into kind of like the Motown stuff? Was there a rebellious period of your like musical upbringing where you're like, you know what, I'm going to start listening to?
Well, I don't think that my parents were ever like closed off, I guess, to the other things. Like they weren't like, oh, you should just be listening to classical music. Yeah. They weren't like that at all. It's just that's what like my mom was listening to. Like that's just what she was listening to. But I remember they also listened to Cat Stevens, and at first I was like, this guy's got a funky voice. But now I love Cat Stevens, so that's funny. So they would like listen to some of those oldies like that as well.
So '96. So if you were, let's see, when you were a teenager, what were the big kind of bands when you were a teenager? Is that so? 2006. So like emo stuff.
Yeah, I gotta say that's one of the ones that's really hard for me to relate to. I know a lot of people really get that, and for me, I just don't.
I wasn't into it either. And then for some reason, in the last like 2 years, I started getting into like My Chemical Romance and what's the name of the that song I do a cover of? Well, that too, but Panic at the Disco. But I hated them when they were out because I grew up in the Nirvana, Pearl Jam, that sort of thing, where that kind of like pop rock stuff was like, you can't do that. You'd be, you'd be shunned from your friend group if you were listening to that kind of like poppy rock stuff. But now I kind of like it. I think it's maybe because I'm getting older or something. I dig it. But really well written stuff like Black Parade it's the same, pretty much the same chords the entire way through, except for the key change. And there's a bridge to it too. But they're playing around with like dynamics and how like the melodies over it too. Even the faster parts are still the same exact chords as the slower parts, but you almost can't tell that that's happening. And the reason, maybe it's because I'm such a music nerd that I find it interesting to do that, because the Beatles used to do that. They used to take very simple chord progressions, but make them interesting, right? And I think that, you know, coming from probably a classical background, you're probably coming up with more interesting progressions from the start, whereas like I know nothing pretty much about theory, so I tend to start from like a 4-chord thing, right, or a 3-chord thing. But I find the ability to take something that is, I'm saying simple, but chords that everyone knows, everyone has used, and being able to come up with something that's different. But then also, because I do this in some of my songs, I'll write a song where it's the same 3 chords the whole song. But to make that interesting is the most difficult fucking thing to do and make it a good song and have it have substance and all that. And like I said, I think the Beatles did that really, really well. And that particular song, Black Parade, is one of those examples of like a song. It's so simple, but it's so complicated too at the same time. When you write, because obviously you write music, right? And in your band, are you the primary songwriter, or is it?
So far, it's been pretty even between me and Tom, and sometimes we've done some writing together. But I would say at this point, it's pretty even as far as. I mean, we haven't been writing as much lately. It's interesting that you were saying that before too, because I'm kind of starting right now. I'm kind of on my upswing of getting back into writing, because it's so easy for gigging to kind of take priority, and then, you know, the people at the bars want to see Jolene and they want to see Hallelujah, you know what I mean? And so that's what you end up playing, and you know, I think a lot of the stuff that I have written has been somewhat maximalist, which like I want to be more minimalist going forward maybe. Because like just also when I'm writing, I'm kind of in this like mad scientist mode. I'm like, oh, this is so cool, and this so. But I write all these challenging things, and then when you try to perform them out, you have to really be firing on all cylinders in order to make it work. And it's just like, whew.
Sometimes that too can get in the way of.
Just emoting it.
Yeah, emoting it, but it can also get in the way of you. And I feel like it can get in the way sometimes of me enjoying it if it's too complex. Like you can, I don't know, it can get away from you, and it could get too
like cumbersome.
Just like you could be too in your head with it, and people kind of lose it a little bit, which is why pop music is pop music,
right?
Because it lets people let their guard down almost and just listen to what's happening. So you can like sneak stuff into pop music, right?
Yeah.
Like you can sneak important information into there that people need to hear or whatever, or your message you want to get across, which is, like I said, the Beatles. And another interesting thing because I watched I think it was an interview with, it was about the White Album, I believe. No, Abbey Road, I'm sorry. It's about Abbey Road. And one of the things they started doing on that, and into the reason Sgt. Pepper was the album what it was, because songwriting for me tends to be on these waves. So I'll be super prolific with like writing a ton of stuff all at once, and then all of a sudden for a year and a half there'll be nothing coming out of me, or I'll have these like little bits and pieces of stuff. And so what started to happen during, I forget which album they were talking about, John would come in with a riff or a piece of a song, and then Paul would come in with a piece of a song, or someone else would come in with a piece of a song, and the producer would say, all right, come to me with 2 songs that shouldn't be together, right? And let's just mash them together and make them work, which is what, so if you listen to Sgt. Pepper, it's like, oh, that's what's going on there.
Yeah.
It wasn't this brilliant like songwriting thing. It was like, and this is what the statement he made. He said to Paul and all this, like, come in with 2 songs, like, or bits of songs, and we'll just put them together. And it's such a simple but brilliant insight that I want to now start doing that with my writing. Yeah. But when you write, what are you doing? Are you typically, because you have some classical training, do you read music and can you write out music? Do you start there on paper ever?
So in the very beginning, I would start very much with the words first and make poems that were very like rhythmically like availed themselves to being sung because they had like similar syllables and like, you know, any sort of rhyming and slant rhyming. And then I'd set those to melodies and kind of set those more with chords. It's kind of been all, I wouldn't say I have like a single process, because then as I started getting more into keyboard, like particularly when COVID happened, I just spent like, not that it necessarily shows now, but like 3 to 5 hours playing keys in the morning. But that was like all I did all day. You know, like that was my productivity. Like that was, and then I got into keyboard and then I started writing from the keyboard, and things can get very dense fast with that, which like I love a lot of keyboard writers like Elton John and like, you know, like Billy Joel.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, I don't know who that is, but it's just different songwriting than people come up with who come up with stuff on guitars. It's just like it's gonna be a different like idiom.
Yeah.
Which is cool, but then it's easy, especially because I love art song. It's like easy for me to slip into kind of like in a classical territory.
Did you? Because I definitely started before I started learning music. I was very into writing. You know, I started reading a lot, kind of the beat era. You know, people, the Kerouacs and all that kind of thing. So I was super into poetry and really like the kind of down and dirty poetry, but I really liked it. And I think I learned a lot about songwriting from liking poetry and you know, like literature and stuff. And it sounds like you, because you started saying things about poetry there too, some technical stuff. So did you start out like songwriting by having a poem that you were like, oh, I'm going to add some music to it, or what?
I started slowly accumulating some words in like a doc, and then I would form them into different poems and then imagine different musical ideas that would be the best setting of them. But that made a lot of the songs that I initially... So I actually didn't really start... There was one song that I wrote when I was little, and I still remember it, and it's actually surprisingly complex. But I didn't really start writing until after college. And I was kind of like, I went into it being like, well, no one's going to want to play with me unless I write my own music, so I might as well try this thing. And then I was like, oh my God, I love this. Like, this is what I want to be doing. And yeah, again, I wish I was doing more of that now, and hopefully I will be going forward.
What do you typically write when you're writing lyrics? So what I'm trying to kind of get at is because there are some musicians and some songwriters that will write musically forward, right? So it'll be very melodic, and when you listen to it, sometimes you don't even know what they're talking about.
Yeah,
I'm the opposite of that. I tend to write like I want the story, I want the lyrics to be kind of the main focus of the song, and you know, there's some rhythmic stuff going on in the background. I want it to be kind of catchy, and then I like to play with timings a lot, and like I said, with simple stuff, but making it complicated through its simplicity. Do you feel like you're writing stories, or do you feel like you're writing melodies more so?
Yeah, I have maybe a different take. So I know a lot of people are writing. I think I often start from a concept, which is maybe different from a lot of people. I mean, the other interesting factor too is being in a band with your significant other. Like, you're not really trying to write. Well, sometimes you can write love songs and that's nice, but you're not trying to write like breakup song. You're not trying to dish on your, you know what I mean? So like,
well, why not? Well, isn't that the perfect scenario to just like set up a?
I don't want to.
No.
I don't know. I don't want to be up there singing like, like I don't know, like dark love stuff, you know, with your significant other.
All right, and we're back. We're not going to cut any of that out.
We have technical difficulties.
I'll play a dee. I'll do one of those little.
So I think a lot of people feel restricted to write to specifically like their own life experiences. Like I see a lot of songwriters that are doing like diary entries, which is cool. Like that can be really cool. But I think for me, I had this really cool professor in college, and he was telling me actually about how people would, it was a physics professor, how people would actually convey information about different experiments in songs, because if you're conveying things in speech, it's like telephone, things get like transmuted. But if you are putting it into song, it's like, it's solid. And so it like iterates the same way. You know what I mean? It's gonna be the correct information. Stick. And I think people are like limited in their views of what you can actually talk about in songs. And so one thing that this isn't something intentional, but when I look back over my songs, and maybe this comes also from my coming out of a physics, I think a lot of what I write is, gosh, this is very pretentious, but like the Hegelian dialectic sort of thing, where you have these two opposite things and you're bringing them together to make like a complete whole. So it's weird when I look back over a lot of what I've written. I guess that's been the thing that's really interesting to me, which again with the physics, it's like you've got the wave and the particle duality, and then like these electrons, which happen to be the same. And that's like, you kind of can't be both with the characteristics of each. That a lot of this is like, I don't know, but a lot of the stuff that I write is taking two different things, but like kind of showing their interaction and actually like showing their connection. And that can be things like spring and fall. Like there's a lot of seasonal stuff. My boyfriend makes fun of me for being like, oh, you're always writing about trees and seasons. That's a classic folky thing. But then like some of the stuff that's more physics based, like there's one that's kind of comparing this ascetic lifestyle versus this very like opulent lifestyle. But in the context of that song, it's kind of like they're both being these public figures and how that's subsuming their personalities. So, and then there's another one that's like smoke and Rachmaninoff. You know, there's like a lot of things where it's these two different concepts and how do you meld them? Because that's kind of what's interesting to me. That's maybe for me where I find I can like break new ground. Because you're not necessarily going to say new things about like specific things unless you're like kind of doing this alchemy to bring different ideas together where it's like, oh, like those are actually these two different concepts, but when you bring them together, it like forms this complete whole of an idea.
I find everyone writes love songs. I tend not to write those in a traditional sense. I tend to feel that there needs to be like at least a little bit of darkness in that. And when I was talking about, why not do that? Like it's almost like a good therapy session if you're both on stage and you've written these songs. Like you get a lot out in those, in a song, especially if he's a songwriter too. And then be able to perform that on stage in an emotional way, I think would actually connect quite a bit. And I just thought of something real quick, if I could, just a technical aspect. I think it won't record to the SD card, but if you switch to that camera, I think the camera might still work. Is it not switching to that camera? Hit that camera. Because it's actually recording to the iPad, yeah, it is. So you can use that camera still. Yep. Yes, you're good. So we're coming up almost on the end of the hour here, but we're...
Yeah, I was going to say, that's actually a good transition into one of the songs I'm going to play. So one thing that I also do to kind of steer around the like love song thing is I think I'll often write things...
Do you have love songs that you've written, though?
Yeah, like we have together, like we've got ones that,
Do you do a duet in it where you like sing on the same microphone? And
Well, I sing on the same microphone is great, like the country singers do. It's like a totally different feel. I love that. But no, we have one where it's kind of like, oh, these two trees like that met in the spring and got together in the fall and like they fell in love. You know what I mean? It's like thinly veiled. And then this other one called Summerborn. I was born we're actually, me and Tom are almost half birthdays of each other. And he's very much a summer baby and I'm very much a winter baby. And so it's kind of that like, again, it's this like two different forces like summer and winter, but it's that like melding of the two. So like throughout all these different things, it's like a lot of the Hegelian dialectic. But to get around that also sometimes I feel it compelling to write about almost the muse as a person. Like people as a love song, people write about like this person that they're interested in. But for me, I think it's an interesting concept to explore that like musically creative like source and like trying to pursue that. So that's a couple of the lyrical ideas in some of our songs. And one of the ones I'm going to play, it's called Bohemian Muse. And that one's actually was inspired by this song, Charles Aznavour, you might, because so he's got this song La Bohème, where he's singing, he's kind of looking back on his young years, painting this woman and looking out the window and seeing the lilacs and they were young and they were poor artists, but it was still beautiful then sort of thing. But it's like, oh, we were young, we were dumb, but but it was beautiful. That sort of vibe. And then we were kind of like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to kind of write a song from her perspective? So like the first lyrics are like, paint me, I'll be your canvas. But it's like, it's more of like a Latin feel. So I was like, oh, it's like the Latin quarter to the, the Parisian sort of thing.
So I think I asked this question on, I think it was the last episode too. Do you feel that you have like when I'm in a situation, I tend to you can I guess consider it overthinking or overanalyzing what's happening or whatever. But I tend to romanticize not necessarily the situation, but the environment and I guess the emotion of what is happening there. And it's kind of constant. It's this overabundant, like finding artists say, I found beauty in this mundane situation, right? That feeling kind of is always there no matter what I'm doing. It's this, I want to say appreciation of life, but it's not that straightforward, because sometimes I hate the fact that I'm in that mindset. Do you feel like not that you're approaching life from a songwriter like that kind of, I'm just analyzing for the sake of putting it into a song, but that it kind of comes as a natural thing, like you're talking about physics and you're talking about things like that, but you're doing it in this, I could see it in your eyes, like the way you're talking about it, you're passionate about writing a song about it, because I can see that you're like, that you find that beautiful and there's an emotion tied to it, as opposed to it just being, I'm writing a song about physics.
Right, because, I mean, for me, the reason that sort of thing gets me passionate is, like, no one else is going to write that. Like, I have to write this. It's like, it's a weird thing. And so it's like, but I think it's a beautiful concept and I want it to exist in the world. So I guess for me, some songwriters are like, I want to be a songwriter because I want to be the sort of person who writes songs. For me, it's more like, oh, this concept, I really want to capture it because I think it's beautiful and I really want it to exist. And I know no one else is going to, like, care enough to bring it to fruition.
Do you on a before we get into your song here, and I want to get a little bit more of an idea of what you're going to do, but do you feel that, well, I guess not in this current relationship, because he's a musician, he's a songwriter too, so you're probably in a very similar headspace, but do you find like your relationships move, whether it be friendships or whatever, move towards artists more than I don't want to say normal people, but normal people, just because of, I feel like it's hard to have a conversation just me about, what, work today and
it's like,
this
we're
and
going to
that.
go on a trip, that
Yeah,
sort of
like
thing.
I tend to want to go down these rabbit holes of like what's in someone's head and what the situation we're in and all that. Do you find that that's the case? And then being that you're dating another musician songwriter, do you like, is that challenging, or do you feel like it's easier because they can relate to what that feels like?
There definitely are a lot of challenges having, your romantic life and your home life and your business life and your creative life all intertwined, because they all kind of have to be going well, or everything's going to be a little topsy-turvy.
I have no idea what that's about.
No. But for me, since it's such a like spiritual thing, almost like it's kind of necessary, you know what I mean, in order to go to that higher plane. I remember in one of the podcasts you were talking about how being in a band is almost like being in a relationship, because you're going to this deep, sensitive spot with each other. And I guess in some bands, like with like 5 people, but it's really personal, and like you have to really be you have to be tuned into each other, and you have to be on the same page about a lot of things. So it's really good that we both like appreciate that. And we're both like you were talking before kind of about being like sensitive people. And I almost feel like I think a lot of people, once they get to be like adults, they're like, oh, I wish I was more like a child and more like sensitive to the world and like more wonder. But I almost feel like in some ways now I'm like more sensitive, maybe because I am really delving into this part of my life as an artist, but I feel that sensitivity, which is, as you're saying, like sometimes it's great and sometimes it's awful.
Sometimes it's really terrible, and you can get into like dark place in your head. But I'm just interested in that too, because I feel like it's shaped a lot of kind of songwriters and artists and the way they make their art ends up displaying pain because before they're able to channel it successfully into their art, you're just experiencing that in your life, if that makes sense. So like you're in a relationship and you're experiencing that, and maybe later you write a song, you paint it or whatever the thing, your art form is. But it's finding the beautiful thing about that pain that has happened because you feel things so intensely. And I'm just trying to make myself feel less like I'm the only one that feels that. Because I see songwriters, I see artists that are living that and not like as, oh, it's just a hobby. It's almost a universal across them that there's this underlying like feeling of, I want to say depression. I don't want to say depression, but depression underneath it, because it's this sadness for everyone that doesn't have that sense of childlike wonder about the world. That sometimes I want to shake people and be like, why don't you see the way I'm seeing this kind of situation? So it sounds like you do. And we're running out of time, so I'm going to get out of the ethereal mindset. She's going to throw something on me. Why don't we get you set up? Before we do that, though, can you cut? Oh, we can't do that right now. Once she's up on the thing, I'll have you kind of tell everyone once again where they can find all your stuff, all that kind of thing. Yeah, so go ahead and get set up. Ava, I'll talk to our audience very, very, very intimately. Again, thank you everyone for watching. And as Ava's getting set up, that should be all set to go. So you should be able to hear that microphone if you want to just talk it.
Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello.
Well, you got some nice reverb on it.
Yeah.
And what's the name of the song again?
This first one's going to be Bohemian Muse. And the second one is actually going to be a setting of the Yeats poem, He Wishes for the Clouds of Heaven.
Oh, you are into poetry. I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it, Ava.
Yeah.
All right, so whenever you're ready.
I'm not hearing the keys.
Not hearing the keys it's on there, right?
Oh, there we go.
There we are.
Am I good to go?
All right.
Paint me, I'll be your canvas, outline my silhouette. Each stroke fills in a bare vignette. Paint me with an loving bohème. Lately, the lilacs are in bloom. They see it all is ending soon. Muse, your brilliance suffused in iridescent hues, so vivacious they shine through. Oh, Muse, but when you ignite the fuse, the light will catch your ruse. Ooh. I think I might have clipped on the little ooh at the end there. That's my only worry.
Oh, that's all right. I think it's.
It's all right.
Yeah, the volume's good on there. I've got it set. So what's this next song we're gonna hear? We've got the pleasure of having. Here, come back to this camera 1 second. Can you do that? We've got the pleasure of having 2 songs today. So we need to pay you triple the price now.
Yeah. This next one is a setting of Yeats' poem, and to me it's very much like, it's a little bit kind of like what we were talking about of like, to care is hard, you really got to put your heart out there, but like, to me, the conclusion is kind of like, it's worth it. Like, your heart might get trampled on, but it's worth it to love things, like, you know, lay that cloth under the feet, you know what I mean? You might get trampled on, but also like, that's the only opportunity to like, welcome in these beautiful things. And yeah, it's He Wishes for the Cloths of Heaven. The beginning is supposed to be some strands of this heavenly cloth. Messed up one of the words in there. Sorry, Yeats.
Don't worry, he won't be around to comment on the video or anything. All right, so let's cut back to this camera here. If you want to take a seat back with us over here, Ava, real quick, and maybe we cut back to the wide once that. But I want to say thank you, Ava, for coming on the show today. Again, thank you to our sponsors. We've got, I believe, a new one for this show, or it might be the next one. New sponsor, as well as, of course, Sea and Stone. Thank you for sponsoring the show. And thank you to everyone for listening. Subscribe. Oh, I forgot to say that in the beginning, to subscribe, like, all that stuff. I'll still throw the graphic on there, so you motherfuckers, you go on there and you subscribe.
Subscribe or else. Or I'll come and get you.
I like that one. Subscribe or else. That's what I'm going to put down there. Subscribe or else. That's right. Ava, thank you for being on the show. I really appreciate it. Let's do this. Where, again, one more time, can people find your stuff?
Yeah, my band is the Archive Ravens. And then my solo project, which is still being launched, so it's going to look a little empty, but just wait. Got a solo launch party on August 25th.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Ah, where is that happening?
Actually at Artisan Works.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have to come out to that.
Oh, please do. I'll keep you posted.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
let us know.
art song stuff. Yeah.
I dig it.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, if you like Schubert and that. If you like your washing machines jingle, you'll be into it.
It's in several episodes, I believe. I don't know why I always start laundry like right before the episode. Yeah. And it's the long, like they've included the entirety of it in the washing machine song. Yeah, I might be in Canada that weekend.
Well, hopefully we'll video it, so maybe it'll be around, hopefully. And I'd love to do, that's actually part of the solo project is trying to really bring art song back, make art song cool again.
Well, whenever you come out with that, if you want to come back on the show and bring your band here too. We've never done like a full band here,
Yeah, that'd be cool.
but we could probably figure it out. I've got enough wireless mics and stuff. Yeah, we'll have to have a lot of wide shots or whatever, but I think we could do it. I'd like to talk to the whole band.
Oh yeah, Tom's also really interesting, so he'll be a good one to
Yeah.
talk about.
Well,
songs.
as a matter of fact, tell him we can do them
Yeah.
separately too, and then
Yeah.
have a whole band show. So, but I appreciate it. Allie, thank you for doing the cameras and all that. This one was a little complicated. We're trying out some new stuff. So if you see that setup of Ava playing keyboard, tell us if you liked it, if you hated it, if you see something in the background where you're like, what the hell are you guys doing having that in the background or whatever. Yeah, there's like the picture of Bigfoot relieving himself in the background
that's
there
good.
too.
Wow,
I don't know if you could see that. It does say eggs, but we all know. We all know. Does it? Is it?
Is he a platypus?
Yeah, he's like. That would be funny if, like, after all of it, it turns out he's just a platypus,
Massive platypus.
laying
Agent
eggs.
P.
Ava, what was that? What?
Agent P. Any
What?
Phineas and Ferb?
No.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah.
She's young.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
I'm a
beyond.
little too old for Phineas and Ferb, but
Yeah,
it's.
I was
mean, is
watching
anyone, though?
what's like a super old, the original Mickey Mouse.
Ooh,
Was it He-Man? No, it was my cousin liked He-Man. G.I. Joe I liked quite a bit.
Tom and Jerry was my jam growing
Was
up.
it? Tom and
Yeah,
Jerry,
that
really?
was my thing.
Yeah, Tom and Jerry I liked.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll talk
Anyways,
more
yeah.
about cartoons after the show is over. Again, thank you everyone for watching, for listening, all that. Tell your friends, subscribe, like, so on and so forth. Thank you, Ava, for being on the
Thank
show. I
you.
appreciate it.
Thanks for
And we'll
having me.
see you on the friggin' next one. Later, guys.